All right, I think we're starting. Good evening and welcome to the virtual Friends Wine and Beer Tasting event. I am Tony DiVittorio, and for now 4.5 years, I have been the president and CEO of Clearbrook. Tonight's exciting. A little more than a year ago, COVID hit us, and this event was the first one we had to cancel. And so to be able to have this tonight it feels good. It feels real good. Whether you've been a longtime friend to Clearbrook or this is your first introduction to us, we truly appreciate you being here tonight. I know tonight's Friends event looks a little different, but we're very excited to have each of you here to help support the individuals we serve. This past year has been a challenging year for all of us, but this pandemic proved just how strong Clearbrook really is. Our Clearbrook staff are the true heroes and went above and beyond to keep everyone as safe as possible. Our staff did everything we could to keep the smiles bright on our individuals' faces. They experienced major changes to their routines. Our community day service temporarily closed, and those in our residential care were unable to visit with their loved ones during all of this. We have now started the new year by hosting vaccine clinics for all our residents and for all our staff. And just this last week, we were able to offer vaccines for those individuals we serve who still live with their families. And so tonight, we're proud to be Clearbrook strong, and we could not do what we're doing without all of you. First and foremost, I want to thank our Friends Committee who helped pull all of this together. We appreciate all you do. Also, a special thanks to tonight's sponsors: Assurance, Borg Warner, Workday, Divine Wine, Baker Tilly, the Cardinal Color Group, BMO Harris Bank, Canon Solutions America, and Alan and Janet Ladoff. So you will have a few opportunities to give to Clearbrook tonight. Yes, we will have and enjoy some wine and beer. But the purpose of this event, why we gather, is to support the individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities that are part of the Clearbrook family. If you haven't already, please get yourself registered on the mobile bidding site. We do have a new Peloton bike being raffled, and you only have another few minutes to buy those tickets before I pull the winner. We have a number of auction items for you to bid on, everything from sports memorabilia to art. There is something for everyone. And now, I'd like to share a brief video with you. None of us will forget 2020 or the way COVID has impacted our lives. At Clearbrook, we experienced many, many challenges, but it also showed just how strong we are. And so please, join me now and let's take a look at our journey over this past year. Our staff make $12, $13 an hour, and they kept coming. They got sick and they kept coming. And when one of their peers died, they kept coming. There was a lot of beauty in this. There was a lot of challenge, but there was a lot of beauty in it.
During all of this time, not once have I had a staff refuse to help, refuse to come in, or refuse to do their duty. That's not the same thing as saying I didn't have staff that were scared, staff that are worried, staff that are uncertain about the future, staff that are worried for their families, whether it's their Clearbrook family or their children. But without fear, there's no bravery. And based on the amount of fear that I've seen, we've had an awful lot of bravery.
Look at the creativity that people have brought to make sure that those in need are truly cared for. Like the Clearbrook organization in Arlington Heights, where staff at the special needs nonprofit have done everything from performing Corona caroling with ukuleles in their neighborhoods, delivering activity care packages to over 60 families, and sewing masks for their fellow employees.
I still get emotional when I think through what all the individuals and staff have experienced over this past year. The dozens and dozens of individuals and staff who wound up in the hospital, many on ventilators, and even after they recovered enough to leave the hospital, having to go to nursing homes and rehab. And worse, I think of the individuals and staff that died, that we lost, a pain for the Clearbrook family. I'm humbled to be part of this remarkable organization and proud, as all of you should be, because you're part of the Clearbrook family. That's what tonight's about. As I mentioned before, the reason we're here is tonight you can show your support to the individuals that Clearbrook serves. And there are many opportunities for you to donate. $25 will buy a new board game for one of our Scylla homes. $100 will buy a dinner for the remarkable staff at the ICFs. If you're feeling especially generous tonight, you can purchase a new medical bed for one of our residents at the Commons for $2,500. No matter how much you can give, no amount is too big and no amount is too small. It all supports the work we do, and your support is truly needed now more than ever. So please, I ask from the bottom of my heart that you give very generously tonight. I'll give you a minute to look through the donation levels as I make sure we get all the last minute raffle tickets into the raffle drum. And so now, what's nice about this is I get to ask my partner, my wife of almost 30 years, Margaret, to join us and help us out tonight. Plus, through this magic of the wide angle shot, this will, in this age of Zooming, prove to everybody that yes, we're both wearing our pants. So tonight's raffle prize is a Peloton bike, and it's the newest model of the Peloton bike. So as we pull this, staff will call the winner. So Margaret, if you'd help me, let me spin it. what's going on? Well, hopefully everyone is still seeing me. So some of you may be asking right now, how, if I just bought a ticket, did Tony end up with the raffle ticket in his hand down in New Lenox? Well, actually, this is all done on computer. All those tickets have a number. They've all been entered in the computer as soon as you purchase them. And the ticket was just pulled randomly through that computer program. And so I would like to announce the winner is ticket number 33. So congratulations, 33. You know who you are. We know who you are, and we'll be getting a hold of you. And now for the real fun. Grab those bottles of beer and wine. The wine tasting will begin at 6:15 and the beer tasting at 6:30. Both tastings take place right here on the Zoom link. You're welcome to stay for both or just pop in to attend the one you signed up for. If you're like Margaret and me, we signed up for both, so we're going to be throughout. If you have any questions for the panelists during the wine tasting or the beer tasting, you can use the chat feature and the guests will be happy to answer your questions. Your credit card is on file and will be charged at the end of the night. But if you prefer to pay with a check, please let us know by responding to the email you received earlier this week. Or you can call or text 847-338-6580. That's 847-338-6580. So now we'll just wait a minute, and at 6:15, we'll begin our wine presentation. Thank you. I hope.
Wine tasting is starting.
Oh, you know what? I never, oh, you can have video because those are stamped it. Okay. All right, it's 6:15. And so it gives me great pleasure to introduce Leslie Renaud from Martin Ray Winery. Leslie,
Hi,
it's all
Tony.
yours.
Hi, Tony. How are you this evening?
I am enjoying. Now it's your show.
So I would like to welcome everybody to having a wine tasting with us tonight. I am the winemaker at Martin Ray and Angeline Vineyards. We are located in the Russian River in Sonoma County, which is relatively, if you were to stand on the Golden Gate Bridge, we are exactly 1 hour north of that. Our winery was founded in 1943 by a gentleman named Martin Ray. He was the first person to actually put the variety of wine on the bottle. So he was considered a bit of a rebel back then. And he made wine in Saratoga for approximately 30 years. About 20 years after he retired, our current owner, Courtney Benham, was lucky enough to find 1,500 cases of Martin Ray's wine in a warehouse. And Courtney decided to bring Martin Ray Winery back to life. So he started the winery that we currently are in. He purchased that in 2003. It's absolutely gorgeous facility. We are about 30 minutes inland from the ocean. And as I said, about 60 miles north of the city of San Francisco. So Courtney has really spent a lot of time and effort trying to live up to Martin Ray's philosophy, which was really expressing wines of place. So because of that, we make wines from many different areas throughout the state of California. The area that we're in is called the Russian River. And from there, we produce primarily Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And then we also make wine in Napa Valley, where we have a great consultant named Keith Emerson, who works on our Napa Cabernets. And then we also still, as an homage to Martin Ray, make wines from Saratoga, actually from right across the street from where the winery was that he founded. For those of you that are sort of wine geeks, the original winery is now the Mount Eden Winery. So it's still got a lot going on there, things that I'm sure the Martin Ray would be really, really proud of. So there are basically 3 members of the winemaking team. There's myself, I'm Leslie. Rami Patterson is our assistant winemaker, who's absolutely amazing. She's done lots of traveling throughout the world, winemaking all over. UC Davis graduate. I think you're going to see some pretty amazing things out of this woman. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Keith Emerson is our consulting winemaker. So he's from Napa. Keith is a graduate from UC Davis in 1999. He's been making some phenomenal Pinot Noirs and primarily Cabernets from Napa. So he has his own brand called Emerson Brown, a really, really good guy, and really has sort of his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the Napa Valley. So as I mentioned earlier, we're about an hour from San Francisco. We're about 30 minutes inland from the coast. The great thing about this area is we get what are called diurnal shifts between the day and the night. So what that means is in the morning, you'll wake up, it'll be fairly chilly, usually in the 40s, maybe 50s, lots of fog. The sun will come up about 10, 11 in the morning, burn all the fog off. It'll stay really, really warm, really intense sunshine until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the wind will kick in from the ocean, the temperatures will drop, and then make for a very cool evening. So in addition to being phenomenal sleeping weather, it's really great grape growing weather. The reason being that the cool evenings allow the Pinot Noir and the Chardonnay to really retain their bright acidity, whereas that really bright, strong sunlight allows to get some really developed ripe fruit flavors. So it's sort of the perfect environment, especially for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. We have 2 labels that I work on. There's the Martin Ray, which is the one that's based after our founder. These tend to be smaller appellations, so we limited number of vineyards, smaller areas, still phenomenal QPR, or the quality that you get for the price of the bottle. And then we also have a second label called Angeline. Angeline tends to be broader areas, so like California appellations. Phenomenal wines, you absolutely know and have the guarantee that whenever you open the bottle, it is a wine of place. You'll absolutely know that if you're opening a Pinot Noir, it's 100% Pinot Noir, absolutely great representation of the state of California. But really reasonable price point. So nothing to ever, feel guilty about if you want to go home on a Tuesday night and have a pizza and open up a bottle of wine. So highly recommend the Angeline wines. So I know the part that you're all looking forward to is that I'll stop talking and you can start drinking. So the first wine that we're going to try tonight is the Sonoma Coast Chardonnay. So as I mentioned, with our cool evenings, we retain lots of bright acidity with this. So it's a phenomenal food pairing wine. It pairs really, really well, especially with things like seafood. This is an area where we get lots of Dungeness crab really close from here. So pairs really well with that. Oysters are a great thing. And also, seriously, just having the wine by the glass is also a great thing to do. Sit outside and share it with some friends. We bring all the fruit in. It comes in half-ton bins. They're mostly harvested by hand. It goes directly into a press. We press the wine, which means that we're removing the juice from the skins because we're not keeping it on the skins. We're not trying to get color out of the Chardonnay fruit. Once we press it off, it will go directly from there to either a tank or to a barrel, depending on how much of how much oak we actually want to get on the wine, which we're usually aiming at about 25 to 35%, depending upon the vintage. The wine then goes through a primary fermentation, which means that it's converting sugar into alcohol. This happens through yeast. And one of the things that we're really focusing on a lot more at Martin Ray and with Angeline both are trying to use the yeast that come in from the vineyard to try to give a really distinct character to the wine, and that distinct character meaning that from the vineyard that it came from. So to really give a really great representation of the area and the wines. So that's something, like I said, we've been starting to do more and more for the past couple of years, something I'm really proud of. It's not something that all winemakers are comfortable doing, but I think that once you're comfortable with it, it, like I said, really expresses a great sense of place. If at the end of this or during this, you have any questions at all, please feel free to, I can believe you can either raise a hand or you could, I believe that there's also a section for questions and I'm happy to answer them at any point. Sorry, so moving on. Second wine that you're tasting is the Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. This is basically from the same areas that we grow the Chardonnay grapes. So again, really bright acidity, but also really good fruit forward Pinot Noir. It's I hate to use the term Burgundian, if you will, but I believe it is more on the Burgundian style, meaning it is pretty restrained. It's meant to be a super food friendly wine. And it's got a really good balance between both the fruit forwardness and the acidity in the wine. With this wine, again, we bring it in by hand. It gets destemmed, meaning we separate the stems from the actual berries themselves. They go into an open top tank, which is basically just picture a big round tank with no lid on it. And then 3 times a day by hand, we come in and we punch down the fruit. So we're trying to take the grapes and submerge them into the juice. This is what allows the wines to get their color and a lot of their flavor. We allow this to happen for the total time between when it's brought in and when it's pressed off takes about 10 days. We typically chill it down for the first 4 days, which is where we're trying to really get a lot of color out of it. And then again, like I said, we're really trying to use just the yeast that comes in from the vineyard. So typically the native fermentation takes about 4 days once we turn the chilling off. And then again, we press it off about 7 to 10 days later. Once we press it off, we send it to barrels, and it's usually about 30% new French oak barrels. And then the other 70% are considered what's called neutral, which means they're just older barrels. So you're still getting the impacts from the barrel, but not the actual flavor from it. They stay in barrel for about 12 months and then they go into the bottle. And then the last wine that you're tasting tonight, but certainly not the least, is the 2018 Sonoma County Cabernet Sauvignon. Sonoma County basically runs parallel to Napa County, but it's just over the Mayacamas Mountains. So it's a little bit cooler, in Sonoma County. There are different microclimates within the county that are much warmer. So sort of the northern end of California, the northern end of Sonoma County is 2 areas called Dry Creek Valley and Alexander Valley. They're both really warm, get lots of sunshine. So this allows a very fruit forward, silky tannin, really accessible wine that is great now. Absolutely open it up, enjoy a glass this evening. Also does really well if you just want to lay it down and come back to it a few years from now. It'll age really, really beautifully. These again are hand harvested. These we do what's called a pump over as opposed to a punch down, meaning that we pump the juice from the bottom to the top as opposed to pushing it down. Don't worry, there's not going to be a test on this at the end, so you're all fine. Again, I think this is a fantastic representation of what Alexander Valley and Dry Creek Valley have to offer with Cabernet. If you have any questions, again, like I said, please feel free to let me know. I did see that there is one question, which is, does the winery offer tours and tastings? We absolutely do. We are open. Well, we're not doing tours at the moment, and we are currently open on the weekends, but the tasting sort of changes with COVID depending on what's allowed. But we do have bottle service that are on the weekends, and hopefully very soon as vaccines are going forward, actually got mine this afternoon, we will be opening back up completely to the public. And it's a gorgeous facility, really, really pretty gardens. Hope you can come out and visit sometime. Question, is the Cabernet blended with other grapes? There are occasions where we will put in a couple percent of something like Petit Verdot, perhaps a Cab Franc or a Malbec. It just kind of depends upon the year and how complete the wine is. And that's just to add a little bit more of a fruity character to it, sort of the same way that they do in Bordeaux. I believe that covers pretty much everything I had to say, but we've got a couple more minutes and I'm more than happy to answer some questions. Oh, there is a question asking why I decided to buy a winery. I did not. I'm smart. I actually like having a paycheck that's guaranteed every couple of months. So I work for people that buy wineries. Unfortunately, I don't really quite have like the cash to do that. It's a very expensive proposition. And let's see here. Okay. Question from Sharon. It asks, are you considered an essential worker? In California, the agriculture industry is considered essential workers. So yes, we are. So during harvest, when there's fires, we unfortunately get pieces of paper that say that we can go behind the fire line because we are ag workers. This was actually one time that it was really beneficial, and we were fortunate enough to be able to get vaccines. Let's see. Question about what flavors and notes should be coming through the cab. I tend to get a lot of sort of blue fruit. We kind of lump fruit into colors. So blue fruit and black fruit. So meaning like a lot of blueberries, boysenberries, some blackberries. There's a little touch of vanilla to it, which is coming from the oak. And then one of the things that I really like on the Cabernet in particular is it has just a tiny bit of herbaceousness to it, which I think is a really great example of Cabernet with the combination of the fruit and, like I said, the fruit and herbaceousness. Question, what was my best vintage so far? Does that mean my personal vintage? I think 2018 was a phenomenal vintage. It was quantity and quality, so it was sort of everything everybody would want, the best of both worlds. Do we offer any organic wines? We do not. However, we're certified as being sustainable, and sustainability has to do with trying to do best practices all the way around, being that within the vineyard, additives, water use. We have solar panels. And it also has to do with the way that you treat your employees in a sustainable manner. Question I was sure we're gonna get, which was asking about the fire this year. We did not sustain any damage to the fires. Luckily for us, the fires have been staying towards the east side of 101, and we're on the west side of 101, so the fire didn't really come that close. However, the skies and the breathing conditions were pretty horrific for everybody. It was definitely very stressful. We did get evacuated a couple of times. So, question: what is the best pairing with the Martin Ray Chardonnay? I would have to say that my absolute perfect pairing with it is Dungeness crab. But those are two of my absolute favorite things: is both Chardonnay and Dungeness crab.
What's the wine?
Hi, you're back.
I am back. I hate to do this because
No problem.
I'm drinking wine and learning,
Excellent.
and I could go another 2 hours, but we do have someone else. But Leslie, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wine. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I hope you make lots and lots of money today.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for everything you do. Take care.
Thank you. And now I would like to welcome Chase Rea from Church Street Brewery, who will also educate us on some of my favorite beverages. Chase?
Jace Ray is the name. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Everybody gets it wrong, though. Everybody asks me if it's Jason or Chase Bank. so I'm not going to take offense to it. But Jace Ray, Church Street Brewing Company. Quick question: can we get rid of the unanswered questions so I know if there are new questions that pop up? I thought that was a really cool thing. I didn't know you could do that. I'd love questions. Questions are the best things ever. I have no idea what you guys like to hear about unless you ask me something. But we're going to get started. We have 4 beers that we're going over. I hear we sold out of beer, which really makes my heart happy. Everybody can hear me, right? There's no way of knowing. Yeah, it really makes my heart happy. Oh, there we go. No open questions. So yes, somebody does hear me. Yeah, by selling through Divine Wine, which got to give them a shout out. They're great. I was curious how many people would actually be, interested in the beer, but I'm glad we sold out of everything. And we're going to give you a nice mixed 4-pack here. The first one we're going to do, and I would suggest you drinking them in this order. You don't have to taste them with me if you don't want to. But I'm going to pop them open and drink them as we go. The first one would be the Heavenly Helles. So this is your quintessential light lager. It is one Chicago's best lager, multiple years. It is our flagship. It's our staple. It's our go-to. It is our everything. It's phenomenal. I'm gonna pour myself a little more. I'm excited about this one. So what's nice about this is really the beer that started the brewery. Church Street Brewery is out in Itasca, Illinois, which is just west of O'Hare. And Joe Greger started it, but Lisa Greger has since taken it over, his wife. So we're a solely female-owned and operated brewery, which is pretty awesome. We also were one of the first 8 breweries in all of Illinois to start up. And now in the Chicagoland area alone, there's more than 300. So just 9 years ago now, imagine that 9 years ago, there was only 8 breweries and we were the 8th one. And now 9 years later, there's over 300 in Chicagoland alone. That's just mind boggling. But this is the beer that started the brewery. It has convinced Joe that we needed to have a light lager that was just incredibly good, that everybody could drink, and that everybody would want to have with pizza, with food, with parties, with pig roast, with sunshine, Chicago snow, just everything. This is your everyday, everybody will love it kind of beer. When people come into the brewery and say, hey, I'm a Miller Lite drinker, this is the beer for you. It's just, you can't go wrong. So cheers, guys. I hope some of you cheers me. Can't see. Yeah, that's just phenomenal. The history to the Helles lager, Helles in German means light. So the name, oh, this is great. The questions pop up like that. That's just awesome. It's named Church Street. We're on Industrial Drive, but it's named Church Street Brewing Company because we were going to be in Church Street, on Church Street in Bensonville, but the ceilings were too low. So we already had the name, didn't get the building, kept the name, moved buildings. We're still Church Street. But we do like the catchphrase, every time somebody comes in, tell your mom you went to church. We like saying that to people. So Helles, it means light in German. And, you know, the light lager obviously is something that everybody in the world loves. Pictures of the labels. So one of our brewers, actually, I love the questions, guys. Keep them coming. I love it. One of the brewers, his wife actually designs all of the artwork. So you can see, well, obviously, I don't need to show you. You have them right in front of you, but I'll do it anyway. Helles Angel. Then we have our other 3. I'll show you those when we get them. She designs all of it. We're very much community driven. Our entire staff is very close. Some family, some friends are all involved. So we like keeping things in-house, and the labels are definitely something that Nikki does, and we're very proud of her. She's a local artist. She's the wife of one of our brewers. So yeah, she comes up with all of them. So Helles light lager, it was to combat the Czech style pills that was coming out. Czech pills were really kind of taking over the market from the Bavarian lagers. So the Germans started to fight back and said, you know what, we're going to come up with our own light lager. And they came out with the Helles. So it's a very old beer. It definitely goes by the Reinheitsgebot. which is the old German purity law of only having 4 ingredients, which anybody know them? It is water, hops, malted barley, or just malt, if you want to be simple. And then after the discovery of the microscope, they added the 4th one, which was yeast. So the German Reinheitsgebot helps lead this beer to be very puristic, I guess. But I love it. It's one of the best beers I've ever had. Love it. I talk a lot, so we're going to try to move on. Next one's Brimstone, right? Oh, gosh. Let's get that guy poured. A little foamy. As excited as I am. So this is what's called an IPA. I know, nobody's ever heard of those, right? Wrong. It's like the most popular type of beer there is. Church Street really doesn't follow fads or beers. We're very old school, as you can tell with my history lesson I just gave you. But we also don't want to ignore our clients whose needs are of the utmost importance, right? And their tastes are definitely not something we want to just brush under the rug. So IPAs are something that we've seen as not just being a fad, but as a requirement, really. And this IPA is very, you don't have Brimstone. Oh, I'm sorry about that. It should be Brimstone. We have Hellas, Brimstone, Righteous Red, and Little Lucy. Sorry if you didn't get the right one. Which one did you get if you didn't get Brimstone? How do you decide what order to taste the beers? Good question. Devil's Advocate. Oh, you know what? You might be right. You're absolutely right. It is a Devil's Advocate. All right, well, I can do that one too. It means I get to drink a Brimstone for free. Devil's Advocate. I'm much more excited about that one than this one, right? That's probably why I didn't include the IPA in the first place. So Devil's Advocate. Yeah, Little Lucy, Righteous Red. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Devil's Advocate. This beer really excites me. Somebody said, how do you decide what order to taste the beers? You always want to start light. So light lager. You definitely want to start that first. Then I'm going to move on to Devils. I thought it was you demand. Thank you. So Devil's Advocate. This beer is, man, I mean, you guys are all looking at it and now I'm jealous because now you guys get to drink it and I don't. Man, if only I was at a brewery that had a lot of beer. Devil's Advocate was voted 4th best Belgian beer in the world. In the world. And it was the only American brewery, only American beer to be even mentioned in the top 10. So this beer is what I like to consider our best made beer, whether it's your favorite or not your favorite. When you're true to style, this is our best made beer, our most well-crafted beer. You're going to get a lot of maybe sweet flavors, but it's not really sugar. The yeast in a Belgian beer tend to be the most active outside of champagne yeast. That's why champagne is also called bubbly. Because the more yeast, the more active the yeast, the more fermentation that happens. Man, I'm running out of time. I got to go fast. So this beer might be a little sweeter at the end, but that's only because of how much sugar the yeast has eaten, not how much sugar is in the beer. It gives a very, very distinct Belgian aftertaste. This is the beer that I chugged on Facebook. Yeah, it's a 9%er. And whoever just said that question, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate being your hero for having chugged it. For anybody who doesn't know that, my son was sitting on my lap and he was helping me introduce the beer for our advent calendar. And I said, hey, Henry, what do you think we should do now? Should we tell him about how the beer smells? And he goes, chug it. And I did. And it's a great beer. I wouldn't recommend chugging it. Definitely sip it more like a wine because it is 9%. But yeah, it's a phenomenal beer. It is definitely the best made beer that we've ever made. Most well crafted. I'm running out of time. I'm going to keep going. I can talk forever. I told them this. I don't know. I told them. All right, we're going to move on to the red, right? So, and to continue to answer that guy's question or lady's question of how do you choose which beer to go next to, reds or ambers or even browns are so middle of the road that they can almost be like palate cleansers, right? Like they're very middle of the road. So an amber, you want to get a little bit of that roasted, a little bit of the caramel. That's what gives you the color of the beer. So just like wine, the grape gives you the color, right? So the malt or the grain gives you the color of a beer in color of a beer. So you don't have red malt, but you do have malt that's called caramel malt, roasted malt, or stuff that's called two row, which means that you row it twice, which means it's milled twice, I believe. And it can give you that nice amber red color. And it's very middle of the road, but it's very much a purist beer that we would like to call our own. It used to be called Crimson Clover, but too many people thought that that was a St. Patty's Day beer only, and it's not. We wanted to make it a year-round beer, so we called it Righteous Red. So I'm going to drink this one real quick because I'm running out of time very quickly. You almost get like a burnt flavor, but the beer's not burnt, obviously. It's just a roasted malt, and you get caramel. Other beers like this would be like Vienna lagers. If you like that red caramely, if you like New Belgium Fat Tire, I mean, this is the beer for you. It's very, I keep saying middle of the road, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that like it's a beer. You know, you have your light lagers, they are what they are. You have your Belgians, they taste very specific. And then you have an amber lager or an amber ale or a Vienna lager, and they're very characterized by that caramel malt, that roast malt. All right, down to 2 minutes. Here we go. Little Lucy. This is a session hazy IPA. So we're the other one, the Brimstone, which I mistakenly drank. So sorry. Where that one is a West Coast IPA, which is very much malt forward. The East Coast IPAs are what everybody is talking about. The fruitier it is, the better it is. The hazier it is, the better it is. And we really, really avoided this style for the longest time because we absolutely thought that it would be a fad. But the longer it stuck around, I'm getting more questions now. The longer it stuck around, the beer didn't start to, we can go past 6:45. Okay, deal. Well, I can review some of these other beers. The longer the hazy stuck around, the more we realized that people really love it and we should probably do something about it. So we made our Brucifer, which was a 9% hazy IPA. The way that people can make it hazy is they add a lot of fruit juice. Doesn't really mix with our purist style of making beer. We don't want beer mosas, as we call them. We don't want to mix beer with just orange juice and call it a different type of beer. So instead, we made a beer that got all of its fruity flavor, and this is crazy, from hops. So every single little bit of fruit that you're tasting out of these beers, and I mentioned Brucifer because that's the 9.2% version of this beer, and it went on to win the very month that we made it, that we decided, you know what? People are begging for it. We're going to do it. We made it, and it won Illinois' best beer that month. I mean, I can't make that up. I could, but I'd be a liar. My dad didn't teach me to lie.
Chase, a quick interruption, but by
Yes.
popular demand, they want to keep you on the screen for a little while. So what I want to do is say to those people who need to leave us, thanks for joining us tonight. For those people still staying with us, enjoy. Chase, if you can stay with us for a little longer, because the demand is big.
Okay, I'll do it. Yeah.
But
I have cut this time out for you guys.
because my wife now wants me to do my hair if I can grow it back just like you. But no, what I would like to say though to all our guests, as we let Chase now go on because people want to listen to him, please, tonight is about supporting Clearbrook and the people that we support. So we're having a great time. We appreciate Leslie and her wine knowledge, Chase and his beer knowledge. But let's remember, this is about raising money so that we can do our job. And so far, you guys have been incredible. If I can just ask, even if you've given, if you can give a little bit more right now, this time and that we're in, it demands it. We won't do anything but the best, but we need your support to be able to do that. All right, Chase,
Yeah.
answer the questions. It's your night.
I really appreciate that. I'm so glad that you decided to let me go last because, man, you guys will be here till midnight. All right. So Brucifer, like I said, it got voted Illinois' best hazy IPA. And we soon realized because the staff started drinking it, man, it really messes you up. 9%, it'll get to you real quick. So we created a session version. There's some beer lingo going on here. Session means lower in alcohol. That's what session means. It means that you can drink it a little bit more rapidly than other beers. So a session hazy IPA, it is our Brucifer, but we call it Little Lucy. And actually, what's kind of cool, if you look at the Brucifer label, it's the devil, you know, like Lucifer, but we brewed him. So Brucifer. And he actually makes an appearance here in Little Lucy. Like you can see his hand. That's him holding his little daughter's hand. And of course, he named his daughter Lucy for Lucifer. You guys are smart. I didn't even hear your response, but I could tell you all got it. So yeah, so very session, very hazy, you can see, very flavorful, very, very fruity. And yet there's no fruit juice added. That's the one thing we wanted to do. If we're going to follow this fad, if we're going to follow this thing that everybody's just pining over, we're going to do it right. We're going to make it out of it. We're going to make a true beer out of it. So it's a Little Lucy, which has quickly become our #1 highest sold beer outside of the Heavenly Hellas. Man, I'm blowing up. We got some questions. Okay, let's do it. How do you decide what order to taste the beer? Got it. Can we purchase the beers at local retail? You can purchase the beer wherever we're at. And I don't know where you mean by local, because I know some of the people on here are from Hawaii. I don't want to say, yeah, go down to the local Maui beer shop. But yes, we're all throughout Illinois. We're actually in our 7th state, 7 states of heaven. I made that up. I don't know if I'll keep that in my next presentation. Maybe. I'll see what the reactions are. So 7 states, we're moving into Michigan this year. So it'll be our 7th state. So we'll be in Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, and oh God, I can't fail at this. Oh man, Iowa, Michigan. Did I say Illinois? I didn't say Illinois. Oh my God, that's the 7th state, Illinois. So we're in those states. In Illinois, we just signed a contract with Binny's, so that we'll be in all of the Binny's, all 42 of them or something. And they will carry all 5 of our year-round beers, which include the Little Lucy, the Brucifer I talked about, the Righteous Red, and the Heavenly Hellas, as well as the Devil's Advocate. They'll carry all 5 of those, plus 2 of our seasonals. Walmart will carry 5 or 4 or 5 brands as well, but it's not every Walmart. I think it's only 20 of the Walmarts in Illinois, the Chicagoland area. What else do we got? If one is not much of a beer drinker, what would you recommend to start to ease you in? All right, great question, because we get that all the time at the brewery, all the time. If you're not that much into beer, I would ask what you're into. If you're into wine, we have wine barrel-aged beer that literally tastes like wine that I'd get you into. Obviously, I know a lot of people on here are into wine. If you're into the fruity stuff, then we do have beer that we age with fruit purees. A lot of people are doing adjuncts, they call it, where you take a beer and you add adjunct to it. In this case, that would be a fruit. I would ask you about that. The Heavenly Hellas is as light as it can be. So a lot of non-beer drinkers usually like the lighter stuff or the fruitier stuff. I would also say, try the Little Lucy. And if you like the fruitiness of it and you don't mind that bitterness that is the hops, man, you're a hop head, you're an IPA nut, and you don't even know it. But if you try the Little Lucy and you love the hop or the fruity forwardness, but you don't like the bitter aftertaste, then definitely go for more like a fruited beer. A lot of times people go, I don't mind Blue Moon. Great, you like a fruited beer. So like maybe our mango kolsch or our Hefeweizen, which is banana and clove flavor. Maybe you would like that. We also are doing a line of seltzers now. So if you're not a beer drinker or drinker, sorry, anonymous attendee, then yeah, maybe the seltzer. Can we buy your beer at Benny's? Absolutely. Answered that one. How does your creative process work when you're making a new beer? Any favorite successes or failures? So, Rachel, this is a great question. My favorite success is also our worst failure, and I'll explain that. The creative process that goes into it. Beer styles are not really new. People have done them for years. Even hazy IPAs have been done for over a decade now. Beer styles really aren't being invented very much. I think the next beer style that'll be invented will be a fruit puree beer, which will literally be, it'll be a milkshake beer. You will get a beer that comes out like a protein shake. I think that'll be the next beer. I'm not looking forward to that. But I don't think beer styles are really being invented anymore. So whenever you want to create a beer, you pick a style. The style has a very set kind of palette. It has the malt that you go into that style, the hops. You can only change things so much. I would give you the analogy, if you're going to make macaroni and cheese, you know you need macaroni, you know you need cheese, everything else is on you. And you give Gordon Ramsay mac and cheese and he's going to make it better than I ever could. But it's the same general premise, right? So the creative process is, we know the style we want to make. We are very much the traditional, the purist. So like where other breweries will say, oh yeah, a stout and a porter, let's add 1,200 pounds of chocolate and a ton of coconut, and then let's throw gummy bears in it. Yeah, we just don't do that. We're going to make a stout that tastes like a stout, that a judge, which our brewmaster actually is a renowned judge for craft brewing, he's going to enjoy it. That's basically what we're brewing it for. So whenever we go to make a beer, the creativity is all based on our personal mindset of what a beer should taste like, really. I hope that answers the question. Oh, favorite successes and failures. Beer is never a failure. It's only not done yet. And a good example is we really messed up a batch of beer. It was supposed to be a Scottish ale, and it came out incredibly dark. Again, beer is never bad. You just aren't done yet. So we threw it into whiskey barrels, and we added cocoa beans and Himalayan sea salt, and we called it a vanilla porter, a salty vanilla porter. And we took a batch of beer that cost $4,000 that should have been poured down the drain, and it went on to win Chicago's best beer of 2018. And it was called Cronin beer. And it was not a vanilla porter. It was not a salty vanilla porter. It was a Scotch ale that we had messed up. But again, it's never too late on a beer. All you got to do is add some flavor to it, age it in a couple of barrels, and you're good to go. So that's probably our most infamous failure that turned into one of our biggest successes. When we come in, will you be there? Yes, I am always here, Stephanie. Oh, Stephanie had a couple of, yeah. So Stephanie, I will be here. I'm about to be a father, a first-time father. She will be born. Tessa Ray will be born on March 11th. So I might not be here too much on that weekend because that's a Thursday. So that weekend I might not be there. But we are always here, typically always here on, I'm here on Wednesday through Sunday, the weekends, the busy times. And we're always willing to give tours of our facility. You come in, you ask for a tour, you ask for a beer tasting. I mean, my philosophy is never say no. So we'll never say no.
Well, Chase, to the new dad, we want to
Thank
say
you.
congratulations. I think some of our guests are very disappointed that you actually have this relationship and parenthood in your picture. So I think there's more than
Well,
beer
fair
loving
enough.
going on. Yeah. But thank you so much for tonight.
Of
Seriously.
course, I'm
Energy.
sorry to any of the questions I couldn't get to. All you gotta do is email me at Jace, Jace at churchstreetbrew.com, or just go onto our Facebook and just send us a message. They go straight to my phone. So,
You're going to be getting texts. I know you're going to be getting messages.
all right, let's do it.
Thank you. And for all our guests tonight, there's still just a few minutes left to bid on items or just to make a flat out donation. We truly appreciate you coming out tonight and spending an hour with us. It was a good time. Hopefully next year we're in person, we're seeing each other, but tonight was great. We need your help. Whatever you can do is appreciated, but it was just great to getting together and being a family. So Chase, thank you. And thank you everybody who participated tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.